Now part of the Darkcast Network. Welcome to Indie Podcasts with a dark side. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, lambs. Welcome to a new episode of Love and Murder, the weekly true crime podcast discussing relationships gone terribly wrong, where our motto is, you're either someone's last love or their first murder. I am your host, Kai, and in today's episode, we're discussing a case of an ungrateful child and what happened during their Thanksgiving. But before we begin, I want to say that this episode is sponsored by My Lambs in Patreon. I want to thank you for a great 2023. Thank you so much for your support. And even before 2023, those of you who have been with me from the beginning, thank you so much for your support. Your donations have kept Love and Murder alive and will continue to keep Love and Murder alive as long as you continue donating. Be sure to subscribe to Love and Murder right now while you're listening so you don't miss a case. If you didn't know, you can also subscribe on our Patreon so you don't have to hear intros or commercials, and you'll be sponsors of Love and Murder. Our last bonus episode over there was the case of the zombie hunter, which was a crazy case from beginning to end. And you won't believe how long he was able to stay out of prison. There was also a bonus in there of the early release of the interview I did with the woman whose boyfriend murdered their son. So if you were a Lamb Patreon, you would have gotten that interview early. And that case is insanely crazy. Patreon.com/Love and Murder. I'll talk more about Patreon after the show. In the meantime, though, grab your butts, grab your apple juice, and let's get into some Love and Murder. Joel Michael Guy Sr. was born on February 10th, 1955, and at the time of this case, he was 61 years old. He grew up in Kingsport, Tennessee, and attended Linview High School. After high school, he went to college and became a pipeline engineering designer. He also met and married Lisa Guy, who at the time of this case was 45 years old. She was born Lisa Madere on August 8th, 1961, and she was a human resources accounts payable administrator at Jacobs Engineering. Between the two of them, they had 4 children, but shared son Joel Michael Guy Jr. So basically, one of them, I'm guessing, I'm not sure if this is accurate, had children before they came into the marriage, and what I'm thinking is that it was Lisa. Maybe she had children from a previous marriage, but then again, it could have been Joel. One of them had children from a previous marriage, and then when they got together, they had Junior. We're going to just call him Junior from now on. And Junior was born in 1988. I apologize for this noise. As soon as I decided to start editing, I guess an alarm outside started going off. I don't know. Throughout his whole entire life, all the way up until adulthood, Junior had never worked a day in his life and had always been supported by his family. He was described by others as distant and an outsider, and he'd been like that for his whole life. He didn't try to make friends or any kind of relationship with anyone, even extended family, outside of his immediate family. And his mom spoiled him rotten. Now, we've had some cases, if you go into the Lamb Patreon, of parents who spoiled their kids rotten. And our episode from last week, the episode of Amarjeet Seda, he was spoiled rotten by his mother, and look at what that turned out to be. He turned out to be a serial killer. So if you haven't heard that episode, just go back to last week's episode and listen to that one. When he graduated from high school in 2006, he first went to George Washington University, where he only did 1 semester, and then he went to Louisiana School for Math, Science, and the Arts in Nacogdoches. And when he went there, he was studying to be a plastic surgeon. In 2007, Joel Sr. and his wife bought a house in Hardin Valley on Golden View Lane in Louisville, Kentucky, which is near Knoxville. So this was a year after Junior went to college. But even though they moved, they told him that you can always come home. Obviously, you're my child, so you can come home, quote, without restrictions. He had a key of his own, and he had his own garage opener. And sure enough, he continuously went home. He was always at home, visiting his parents, and he, quote, considered it home. Even though he was away at college, he considered this his home. He always went home for holidays and between holidays. Literally, he was always home. His parents had set up his own room in the upstairs portion of the house, and he kept his clothes there. He had furniture there, furniture that he had had since he was a kid. He had books from school. He had his collectibles there. Basically, that was his room. On Thursday, November 24th, 2016, he had come home, as he did, for Thanksgiving. His 3 half-sisters also came home from Thanksgiving, including his half-sister Michelle with her children and her boyfriend. It was during this visit that Joel Sr. and Lisa told their kids that they had put this house up for sale and they planned to move to, okay, I might not say this right, Sirgoinsville, Tennessee, to retire and be closer to Joel Sr.'s family. So basically what they were saying was, in 2 weeks, we're going to be moving there. So on November 25th, Joel Sr. and Lisa took Jr. to the Sirgoinsville house. They were going to show him the house and they had to move the family boat there. So when they came back, Jr. started parking his car inside the garage, which he didn't normally do. He usually parked outside the house, but when they got back, he decided to start parking in the garage. Now, we're going to note that after Thanksgiving, Lisa never came back to work. Lisa's boss, Jennifer Whitehead, kept calling Lisa to find out what was going on because it wasn't like her to just not come to work. And if she did it, she always updated them on what was going on. So even though she kept calling days and days and days, she never got a response. So on November 28th, Jennifer called the police and said, hey, can you go do a wellness check over at the Guy house? And she explained to them that her employee, Lisa, just never came back to work after Thanksgiving. So she hasn't been to work so Thanksgiving was the 24th. This is the 28th. She should have been back on the 28th. They were off on Friday. Then the long weekend, the 28th, she's not here. She should have been here today. It's not like her to just not show up and not call. Man, her boss worked fast. So Knox County officers went out, and it was Officer Stephen Ballard who arrived at the scene. He went there and just thought the house was empty. He saw the sign that the house was for sale, but there was no real estate lock on the front door. So he went up, he rang the doorbell, but no one came to the door. He walked around, looking around, and he saw there were 2 cars in the driveway. And when he looked in a window, he saw that there was a light on in the foyer. So he was like, okay, well, looks like somebody's home. So he left. Later on in that same day, Detective Jeremy McCord got another call from another co-worker to check up on Lisa. So they were like, okay, we'll go check one more time. So him and Detective Ballard went back to the house. They looked around like Detective Ballard initially did, but they decided to take it a step further. This is when they discovered something weird. The back doorknob, the doorknob from the back door, had been removed and had been installed on the front door. So I guess so if someone came with the front door key, it wouldn't open. And then if they went to the back door, they couldn't get that. So, basically it seemed like the locks were changed. So nobody could get in the house. But they looked through the window on the front door and they could see like groceries on the floor. But, sometimes people leave their groceries out. That's not suspicious. But when you have like frozen vegetables out, ice cream out, meat out, that's kind of suspicious. They went back to the back door and looked through the hole where the doorknob used to be. And they could feel like it was really, really hot in the house. And Detective McCord said, quote, there was a smell of decomposing bodies and heat coming from inside the house. He described it as, quote, a weird smell, a chemical cooking, which was consistent with plenty of bodies that are in various forms of decomposition. I will never get those smells out of my head or my dreams. So looking around, they found a garage door opener in one of the cars, and they used that to get into the house. When they went into the house, they did identify themselves. Knox County police officers, is anybody here? Knox County police officers. But nobody answered, no one said anything. They did notice, even though they noticed it through the hole in the door, they did notice once they got into the house was freaking hot. They looked around and saw that there were wallets on a table, and along with a sledgehammer on top of the wallet. On another table, they found guns. They continued looking around downstairs and noticed that the stove was on and whatever was in the stove was boiling. They went around and got to the stairs, and at the bottom of the stairs, they saw the groceries that they had seen through the front door. They continued going through the house and went up the stairs, and they could hear a dog barking, but no dog was like running out. They could just hear a dog barking. When they got to the top of the stairs led into a hallway, And there they saw severed hands on the floor. So already they're like, they probably pulled out their weapon. They were like, what the frick is going on? You know, that's when your heart starts pumping and your adrenaline starts going like, oh my God. So they looked around some more and they found dismembered corpses in some kind of solution in the bathtub. During the upstairs investigation, because, you know, you see all this, you can't stop now. They found sewer line cleaner, a bag of baking soda, hydraulic acid, drain cleaner, hydrogen peroxide, lye, drain opener, bleach sprayer, and bleach. In an open suitcase, they also found a name and an address of a Louisiana Ace hardware store, along with notes about sewer line cleaner. So by now, they're completely freaked out and they ran back downstairs. That's when they remembered, oh crap, the pot is boiling. So they went to turn off the pot and opened the pot, and in it, they found Lisa's head and other body parts. In the garage, they found more body parts, in blue plastic bins. Detective McCord called for backup. When crime scene technicians got there, they found even more evidence. They found liquid fire, sewer cleaner, bottles of muriatic acid, and then they found more hydrogen peroxide and the isopropyl alcohol. So they noted that all of these toxins required a hazmat team because it needed to be specially removed. And they ended up having to work throughout that Monday night and into Tuesday, processing everything they found at the crime scene. While they were processing that, investigators started going out and processing other stuff. Some of the evidence led them to a Knox County Walmart where they got the surveillance video. In the video, they saw Junior buying some of these items that they found at the house. After questioning his family, investigators found out that Junior had been staying with his parents for the Thanksgiving weekend. His half-sister, Michelle, also told police that she had seen blue bins, you know, the blue bins that police had found body parts in, inside Junior's car on Thanksgiving. So now he became the number one suspect in the murder of his parents. Quote, when two people are found murdered in their own home, items that belong to a missing third party inside that home would more probably than not identify who else was in the home and would be evidence of the crime. So, the FBI and the Knox County Sheriff's Office and East Baton Rouge Sheriff's Office put Junior under surveillance for some days. While they're watching him, they're still investigating. And one of the key pieces of evidence that they focused on was a laptop that belonged to Junior. Quote, someone was probably using the computers when the bodies were dissolving. They then began to track Junior's movements throughout these couple days by going through his purchases. They deduced that he was living both in Baton Rouge and Knoxville. Then they also found a notebook of his, in a backpack of his, in a room of his. Now, in this notebook, don't ask me why, they found entries that referenced what was purchased and what was needed to carry out the murders. And it's like I always say, if you're going to carry out a murder, which I don't suggest, obviously, but if you are for some reason, make sure you leave as much evidence as you possibly can on your person, in your house, on anything that you have, in your laptop, in your phone. Write it down in your handwriting. Staple it to the clothes that you're wearing. Make sure your phone is off so it could track you everywhere. And tell everybody that you possibly can, strangers, friends, doesn't matter, tell everyone. While they're doing this, surveillance saw that Junior had gone back to Louisiana to seek treatment for some injuries that he had gotten. You know, injuries he had gotten while he was murdering his parents. He went to the Louisiana State University Student Health Center. He went to the clinic at the college for cuts on his hand. And he told doctors when they're like, whoa, what happened to you? He said, quote, I tumbled down 3 steps carrying breakables on Sunday. So then you drove from Tennessee all the way to Baton Rouge? 11 hours? Why didn't you go to the doctor's right next to your parents' house? But I guess they didn't know that. So for all they knew, he was at college during the Thanksgiving weekend. Because, some people do stay at college. After receiving medical treatment, Junior went back to his parents' house. So this was like Monday night or Tuesday morning. But when he got there, he saw the crime scene tape around the house and saw police cars and saw that his parents' cars were gone. So he was like, nope. And he left the house and never, ever came back. He went all the way back to Baton Rouge. But on his way back to Baton Rouge, he stopped near Chattanooga to take out some money from an ATM. He's thinking he's being so clever, but on the way, police are just snapping pictures. Just snapping pictures of him, writing notes. Took out money from an ATM. 7:09 p.m. Got back on the road in his blue car. 8:05 p.m. So, on November 29th, Junior was arrested in Baton Rouge. Cliffhanger Kai's back. I know y'all love me so much. If you don't want to hear me, join the Lamb Patreon and you don't have to hear Cliffhanger Kai anymore. I just wanted to stop this episode to remind you to support the Lamb sponsors. By your support with my sponsors, you also keep Love and Murder going. Right now, there's so many sales going on. Black Friday just ended, but Cyber Monday is coming up and Small Business Weekend was going on. So, if you want to get great deals, support Lamb sponsors. Go to my page, www.murderandlove.com, and click on the link for sponsors. You'll see in there Mint Mobile, which has an incredible sale going on right now. What it is when you purchase 3 months, you get 3 months free. So that's 6 months starting at only $15 a month. So you can get 6 months of amazing cell phone service for starting at $45 flat. That's it. You'll also see under my sponsors tab, audiobooks. You get 3 free audiobooks, and right now on top of that, there are plans which will save you money. So if you buy 3 months, you're going to save $10. If you buy 6 months, you're going to save $20. And if you buy 12 months, you're going to save $50. That's 12 months of audiobooks. Normally, it starts at $14.95 a month. But if you purchase any of these packages, you save so much money. Plus a month free, plus 3 free audiobooks. Where can you go wrong for that? I also have under sponsors, there's a Blink Whole Home Bundle, which is completely on an amazing steal right now. Click on the link under sponsors and you'll be supporting Love and Murder when you buy and secure your house. Now, if you're shopping, if none of that appeals to you, but you're shopping and you want to get paid to shop, you want to get money back to shop, then just click on my link to join Rakuten. With Rakuten, you will get money back, literal hard cash back, just for doing what you're already doing, which is shopping. Now is the time to do it while the sales are good and the pickings are great. Go to my website, murderandlove.com, go to sponsors, and this will help support Love and Murder as well. Thank you in advance. And now, back to the show. Basically, what happened was he was coming out of his apartment. He was about to get into his car, and police were like, freeze! Hands in the air! Keep him where we can see him! Walk backwards! Being that he had so graciously already unlocked the car for the cops, police searched his car. Guess what they found in there? They found a meat frickin' grinder in his trunk. Police took him in and he pled not guilty to first-degree murder, abuse of a corpse, and felony murder. When he was seen in court, he pled not guilty to first-degree murder, abuse of a corpse, and felony murder. Knox County Criminal Court Judge Stephen Sword saw a motion that Junior had put in, requesting to act as his own attorney at the trial. However, he would do this only if you would allow the judge or jury the option to impose the death penalty if he was convicted. And the judge was like, the prosecutors aren't even seeking capital punishment, so sure, deal. No takesy-backsies. Act as your own lawyer without any law school. Go ahead. And, the deal's on the table because we weren't even seeking capital punishment anyway. But yeah, that's what you wanted. That's what you got. For his defense team, he had a group of lawyers. Because don't forget, his parents were engineers. So they had money. So I guess somehow he got some of that money. Well, I don't know. Somehow he was able to afford this. So He got Assistant Public Defender Jonathan Harwell and Knox County Public Defender Mark Stevens. They told the court that they were not trying to plead insanity. For 4 years, lawyers and judges and everybody were in and out of court dealing with this case. There were motions filed, times changed. 4 years. In a December 2019 hearing, Junior, changed his story and said that, look, my hands were injured, quote, in an altercation with my parents, with both of them. Both of my parents, I had an altercation, and that's how I injured my hand. To which I said, and probably the judge said too, no shit. Really? I really bought the story of you falling down 3 flights of stairs that you told those doctors. Oh, the shock I'm going through right now, that you got into a altercation with both of your parents, and that's how you hurt your hand. When they asked him, well, why did you go back to Baton Rouge instead of a hospital right near your house? He said, well, I didn't have health insurance, and so I went to the school doctor. And he said after he went to the doctor to get himself patched out, he had really intended to immediately go back home, which is why when the investigators were at the house, if you remember, they found his laptop. Now, what I didn't mention is they found his laptop still on the bed. Like I said, evidence everywhere. Keep your laptop on and open to the page of you typing up your manifesto of what you're going to do. Sign your name to it. Then take a sticky note. Sign your name to that saying, I wrote this. This is me. Stick it to the monitor of your laptop. Then have a picture with you holding up a newspaper saying, yes, I did it. And stick that to the front of your bedroom door with a neon sign pointing here, here, here. Oh my God. The most notable moment during these hearings was whether evidence seized at Junior's apartment can be used as evidence in his trial. So he had evidence in his Baton Rouge apartment, and they were asking if that could be used in the trial. However, Judge Sword said it won't be admissible in the case, but evidence that was seized at his parents' house can still be used at the trial. The reason the judge said that the evidence gotten from his Baton Rouge apartment wouldn't hold up in court is because the search warrant that was submitted failed to establish a close enough connection between the crimes in Knox County and Junior's apartment in Baton Rouge. Prosecutors did say that investigators established that Junior was charged with the murders and he was arrested in Baton Rouge at his apartment, but the judge said, well, you didn't indicate that Junior had entered the apartment after the murders. He also pointed out that investigators failed to describe the manner of the homicide that would justify the collection of blood, hair, bodily fluids, and fiber evidence that they collected in the Baton Rouge apartment. Quote, the connection between the cell phones, electronic devices, and computers is not supported at all by the facts. So he ruled, it's stuck. You cannot use what you collected in Baton Rouge. You can use what you collected at the parents' house. Now, initially the trial was set to start in February 2020, but was moved because of COVID. Jury selection started on September 24th, 2020, and then the trial started on September 28th, 2020. Before we get into the trial, I just wanted to tell you that the bonuses for this case are, oh my God, so many. When you join the Lamb Patreon at only $3 a month donation, you'll get videos from each day of the trial, photos entered into evidence like Junior's hands with the cuts that we're talking about he went to Baton Rouge to get fixed, letters that he wrote, you'll hear in the trial, letters that he wrote, the list, the meat grinder, picture of the meat grinder, pictures of the crime scene, and so much more. I also have some court files in there. Patreon.com/loveandmurder. Don't forget that you also get commercial-free episodes when you sign up to be a Lamb Patreon. No intro, and you don't get commercials like this. You don't get commercials like the previous one that I did, and you don't get all the other commercials that's sprinkled in here. No intro, and you get daily Kai rants that I know y'all miss. Now, don't forget, I'm trying to get to 500 Lamb subs by the end of 2024. And when you sign up, your name will be on my Lamb board in front of my desk that I look at every single day when I start working. So you're always remembered by me. And your donation will help me and the podcast out greatly. Now, throughout the trial, the defense presented no evidence on behalf of Junior. The prosecution, which was led by Leslie Nacios and Hector Sanchez, did the opposite. They presented all kind of evidence. According to the prosecution, Junior's motive for what he did was due to finances. Shocker. Because really what had happened was his parents had sold the house, yeah. They were planning to move, yeah. And they were also planning to stop him from being a freeloader. So they weren't giving him any more money. They were telling him to grow up, make your own money. You have been in college long enough. Do you want to know how long he was in college? He was in Baton Rouge studying to be a plastic surgeon for 9 years while his parents continued to support him. So he wasn't trying to get a job. He didn't want to spend the money. He was just sitting there trying to be a plastic surgeon for 9 years. Which, let's think about it. So you have your undergrad, that's 4 years. Then you have to go into medical school. That's another 4 years. So that's 8 years. So he should have been in his residency. But no, he was still in college, sitting there with his roommate. 9 going on 10 years. You should have graduated already. And you should have been in your residency. Now, if I'm wrong, because I'm not a doctor, let me know. After 8 years, shouldn't you be in your residency by then? Maybe I'm forgetting some other form of schooling that you have to get as a doctor. Maybe you have to go to plastic surgery school. I'm not sure. But that's medical school, right? I think he was just going to make a habit of going to school and be like, well, I'm in school. I can't work. I'm in school. I can't work. Huh? College. I have a test on Monday. I can't work. School. Prosecutors also said that the sequence of events from that fateful day was that Junior first killed his father with a knife in the exercise room upstairs. Then, when his mother came home, he ambushed her and stabbed her to death. He then dismembered the bodies and tried to dissolve some of the remains and then boiled his mother's head in a pot. You son of a... Okay. Ungrateful. You graduate at 18. So about 10 years. So he's like 27, 28. They have been funding your freaking life. You're about to be 30. They were funding your freaking life. And because they said, hey, we want to retire and we want to, have fun in our old age. And we're not going to give you money anymore because you need to learn to support yourself. He said, F all that. I need money. I want your money. I'm going to kill you all. I'm going to boil my mom's head. Your mother, you sick son of a bitch. Do you know how much pain your mother had to bring you into this freaking world that you stab her up and put her head in a pot? Do you know what your father did to basically support the family? I mean, his mother worked. I'm not saying his mother didn't support the family, but your father worked along with your mother to support this family. And you cold-bloodedly went and stabbed up your father, then chopped his body up. And then you went to seek medical attention for the little cuts that you had on your widow fingers. Sick. And if you look at his picture, if you look at his face, the different pictures I'm going to have in my Lamb Patreon, if you look at this mother skunk's face, he just looks like an obnoxious, his facial expressions anger me just by looking at him. He just looks like, I'm pretentious and I did what I did and I'll do it again. That's what his face looks like. He holds no remorse in any of his expressions. He just holds the expression of, I am entitled to everything that I want and I'm going to get it. And that's what his expression looks like. That's why it angers me. Prosecutors also testified that before murdering his parents, Junior wrote notes about how he was going to do this look at this notebook here, Your Honor. And in the notebook, it's step by step of how he was going to kill his parents, how he was going to dispose of their remains, and how he was going to get away with it. Because the first rule of getting away with it is writing it down and keeping it in your backpack in your room where it's easily found. If you watch that show, How to Get Away with Murder, that is the first way they say to get away with murder. Quote, Joel Guy Jr. placed portion of the remains in an acid-based solution in an attempt to destroy evidence. That was a quote from Detective McCord. Homicide investigator Scott Hennings, who was there when Jr. was taken into custody, took the stand and showed a bunch of pictures. So while they were showing pictures of the cuts on his hands, of the scratches and everything on his arms and hands and fingers, he narrated what was going on. And in one of the pictures, you could see him dressed in a white t-shirt that was stained, flip-flops and gray shorts, and he has a large wound on his left thumb. They also showed the meat grinder inside of his trunk, right next to a deep mixing bowl and a red gasoline canister. On day 2 of the trial, they spoke more in depth about the notes that Junior wrote about how he was going to ambush his parents, how he was going to chop them up, how he was going to dispose of them. They spoke more in depth of that. They said in his note, he reminded himself to, quote, bring blender and food grinder, grind meat. They continued reading down the notebook. It says, quote, kill him with the knife, clean up mess from him before she gets home. Then the next bullet point says, quote, kill her with a knife. Then it says, quote, place her in the shower and turn on hot water and point at her to get rid of forensics. Then it talked about how he was going to place his father's body in the blue plastic bin and then drag it over to the shower and put it in the shower so it could be alongside his mother's body, and the same with the hot water to wash away the evidence. Quote, cut off his arm and plant flesh under the fingernails. Use sodium hydroxide to destroy his soft tissue and soften bones for transport. Baste once every hour to accelerate. Baste like you're baking a frickin' turkey. Quote, wipe down areas near killing rooms and bathrooms. Turn up heat to 90 degrees because it speeds up decomposition and melts fingerprints. Another bullet point, bleach reacts with luminol just like blood. Douse area with bleach. Big sprayer. Lie. Trash compactor? Literally it says trash compactor question mark. Under the trash compactor it says body gives time of death. I need an alibi. Douse killing rooms with bleach. And then another bullet point said flush chunks down toilet, not garbage disposal. Don't have to get rid of body if no forensic evidence. Then he starts brainstorming. He thought about setting fire to the house to just get rid of all the evidence. He also thought about flooding the home to cover up forensic evidence. Another bullet point says, quote, a reminder to send text from her phone to send to me late Sunday because this will prove that I was in Baton Rouge and she was alive. Then they turn the page and it shows details of the, quote, assets that Lisa and Guy Sr. had, including a $500,000 life insurance policy that lists Jr. as the beneficiary. Quote, $500,000 would be all mine. With him missing or dead, I will get the whole thing. My God. He thinks he's so smart and he's so stupid. All you had to do was find the book, the notebook, and all your plans are there. The motive is there. Like, so smart, you're stupid. And I have a picture of all these lists and notes and everything in the Lamb Patreon. So I just read like some of them, but the list was longer than this. It also has the page with the assets. That's going to be in the Lamb Patreon too. On day 3 of the trial, they went more in depth on the meat grinder that was found in the car. Prosecutors did agree that there was no evidence that Jr. used the appliances after the murders to dispose of the remains. Yeah, because he was on his way back from getting his widow fingers sewn back up. He was on his way back to get to use it. By day 3, jurors had heard testimony from over 12 witnesses, which included police officers, law enforcement officials, his siblings, and his best friend, Michael McCracken, who during his testimony described Jr., like everyone else described him as, quote, socially awkward. And then he told of his jail phone call with Jr., and he said he never even met Jr.'s dad despite knowing him for 10 years. He said he never got any phone calls or letters from family, from friends, only his mother called him. And he never even told Michael that he had sisters. He said as the years went by, Jr. got even more withdrawn And it got to the point where he wouldn't even go out of the apartment for weeks. Just wouldn't see anybody. He said by the time of the murder, by the time that Junior had left Baton Rouge to go home, he had no friends other than him, Michael. Michael was literally his only friend. And even then, Junior was starting to not talk to him as well. Now, in the jail phone call that Michael had gotten from Junior right after he was arrested, Junior told him, "Forget about me. Just forget about me." Quote, "I don't have much of a chance to be happy anymore, but you do. Consider me dead and move on with your life. I genuinely want you to be happy. Why did I do this?" And then Michael said, blah, blah, blah. And then Michael said to him, "It hurts my heart. You've been my best friend for my entire adult life, and I don't know if that will ever change because of what you did. I don't know what to say. Just angry and lost and confused and disappointed and upset, and I'm mourning you like you're dead, even though I'm talking to you on the phone. It's taken everything I have to process and maintain my sanity." To which Junior responded, quote, "I think about you all the time. You were the only good thing in my life. You're the only thing I'll miss." End quote. I mean, that is your best friend? But you piece of crap and garbage and everything else that I can call you. Your parents funded your freaking life and you're acting like you had a horrible childhood. Your mother spoiled the shit out of you. Even though you decided not to talk to your family, your mother continued calling you. Your father and mother continued to fund your life. And you're going to act like you were probably abused and so sad and nobody did anything for you and the only good thing in your life was Michael. Not going after Michael. He had nothing to do with this, but I'm going after Junior acting like, "Oh, you're the only good thing in my life and the only thing I'll miss." You bastard. Prosecutors pointed out that Junior was caught on several different surveillance cameras, buying the supplies that he was planning to use in the murder and buying the supplies that he was planning to use to dissolve his parents. They said that he used cash for every transaction because I guess he figured that can't be traced, but they forgot there's a camera right there looking at you. He started purchasing his supplies as early as November 7th. Premeditated, you stinking piece of... And then on November 18th, so the stuff he bought on November 7th, he bought at Ace Hardware. And then on November 18th, he bought more stuff at Home Depot. And this is where he bought the bleach sprayer, the extension cords, and a timer. On November 19th, he went to Academy Sports, and that's where he bought a knife. And then on November 21st, he went to Walmart in Knoxville, and that's when they saw him buying the blue plastic totes, so the big containers. They also got surveillance of Lisa buying items at Walmart at 12:15 p.m. on the day she was murdered. So he had his mother go out and pick some stuff up. "Hey, Mom, I forgot hydrogen peroxide and isopropyl alcohol. Can you go to the store and buy that for me?" Oh my God, can you freaking imagine oh my God. In Detective McCord's testimony, he also said of the scene, quote, "Seeing scenes like this, they are very rare. They are in the 1 percentile of homicides in the United States." He also said, and you'll find out why I'm going into this part, he also said that the investigations leading up to the fight inside the home was, quote, "an unusual set of circumstances to say the least." So this is why they didn't wait for a warrant, because they believed that waiting for a warrant to go in the house would jeopardize lives. They said there was a clear enough reason to get access to inside the house, and this is why they went in through the garage. The trial only took 4 days, and Junior was found guilty. Judge Sword is quoted as saying, quote, "Mr. Guy thinks he's smarter than he really is." Basically, like I said, he's so smart, he's stupid. He was sentenced to life in prison for counts 1 and 2 of premeditated murder. First-degree felony murder, count 3, first-degree felony murder, count 4, and first-degree felony murder, count 5. So these 3 felony murders that I'm saying merged together, so basically life in prison. 2 counts of premeditated first-degree murder, 3 counts of felony murder, and 2 counts of abuse of a corpse. And he's currently being held at Northwest Correctional Complex in Tiptonville, Tennessee. Now, you would think that's the end of it, wouldn't you? But it's not. 6 days after the jury found him guilty on all 7 charges, They received a letter dated October 8th. And in the letter, he said that he fantasizes about gorging the eyes of the other inmates out. Basically, the reason he sent this letter was that he wanted to be moved to solitary confinement. And this was a handwritten letter. Quote, I shouldn't be allowed access to another person while they're unconscious. This letter will also be in the Lamb Patreon. In his letter, he talks about his plan to gouge out inmates' eyes if they don't immediately move him out of Gen Pop and put him in solitary confinement. Quote, given that in these fantasies, it is essential that I used my fingers, a no sharps restrictions will accomplish nothing in deterring their actualized. Okay, I guess he's trying to say that I'm going to use my fingers, and even if you say nothing sharp in my cell, I'm going to still do it. So don't even try and do that. And the judge said, well, this is just evidence of Junior's, quote, manipulative and devious behavior. There were all other letters. There were actually 12 letters in total filed by the state from Junior. And he also requested consecutive sentences, saying that because his father and his mother were killed separately, the sentences should run consecutively. So basically, get me out of here, put me in solitary confinement, and my sentences should run consecutively. So Judge Sword said, sure, I'm going to add on 2 more counts of abuse of a corpse and give you the maximum sentence for that. So you're going to have 4 more years on top of your life in prison, plus 2 consecutive life sentences. So have fun, rot, and stop writing me. Quote, this wasn't just abuse of a corpse. This was the most extreme form of abuse of a corpse I've seen in 25 years. Hopefully, it's the most severe I see in my entire career, however long that lasts. Then in February 2021, Junior filed a motion for a new trial. He said that he didn't receive a fair trial due to court restriction because of coronavirus. The judge said, no. You know that meme with Bugs Bunny saying no? That's what I picture in my head. Judge Sword said he did not see any remorse in Junior's actions during the trial. He didn't. Remember I told you what his face looked like? So I even saw that. That was just pictures. He saw no remorse in his actions during the trial. Quote, I don't see potential for rehabilitation of Mr. Guy. I was watching him during the trial. He showed absolutely no remorse or despair over at seeing what he had done. Quite frankly, Mr. Guy, you look like you're kind of proud of what you've accomplished. Then on October 3rd, he filed another appeal, a 36-page appeal, requesting again a new trial. He said this appeal is because the decisions made by law enforcement when my parents were discovered was not sound. So basically, first of all, you entered a private residence without a warrant. Secondly, you seized, quote, dozens of items without a warrant. Quote, the warrant requirement doesn't disappear merely because a crime scene is horrific. This was literally the introduction of the 36-page appeal. They said that even though the house belonged to Junior's parents and not really his, it's technically his house because he was given a key by his mother in 2007, and they said you can come home whenever you want. So, quote, long-term connections makes it his house. And you didn't ask him for permission to get into his house. In which the state came back and said, yeah, he was suspected of homicidal acts, so no, we were able to go into the house. And they brought back up that the officer said, quote, they smelled an odor of decomposition, which is why they went into the residence without a warrant. But his attorney said, nope, still needed a warrant. And the state said, well, evidence was, quote, in plain view, and so it was lawfully seized by law enforcement. And the state responded by saying, well, look, we took the evidence because, quote, it was in plain view. And also, Junior stopped being an overnight guest when he left to go home and get his widow hands taken care of. He actually went home to Baton Rouge, so he stopped being a resident/guest at the house. Quote, the state nonetheless suggests that overnight guest status ends when a defendant steps outside of the home, even if he intends to return to the house in short order. So Junior's argument, 7,106-word argument, ended by saying that the evidence collected at the house should have been suppressed. To which all of this was denied, and it said, go back to jail and stop. Just go sit. I mean, that's what I would say if I was the judge. And that appeal document will actually be in the Lamb Patreon as well. And that, lambs, is the case of Joel Guy Jr. What the frick did y'all think about that episode? Oh my God, you heard all my thoughts throughout the episode, so I don't even need to backtrack and tell you what I thought. But I would love for you to tell me what you thought, and you have 3 ways of sharing them with me. Actually, you have more ways of sharing them with me. Number 1, you could tell me in the comments below, which if you do, it would be read in the weekend version of Kai Reads Your Comments. Kai reads in response to your comments. So let me know what you think about this in the comments below. I would love to hear from you. If not, you can answer my poll question, which I haven't thought of it yet. But if you go to the poll on my Patreon, the poll is open to everyone. Or on Spotify, you can answer whatever the question I'm going to put out now. I promised y'all a poll question, but I have not thought of one for this one. Because everything was literally so obvious. Like, I can't even think of a poll question to ask. But once I get one out, you can answer that. Or you can go to the Lamb Facebook group and we can talk about the case over there. You can also, my personal favorite, if I'm being completely biased, join us over in the Lamb Patreon at patreon.com/loveandmurder. Like I keep telling you, right now we have options starting at only $3 a month donation. With $3 a month, you get commercial-free episodes. So like this episode minus the commercial, plus all the additions of the case. Everything that I told you was going to be in this case. Plus, on top of that, now you get daily Kai rants. And the best tier is the $5 a month and above, because then you get bonus episodes. So join us over there, patreon.com/loveandmurder. Don't forget, I am trying to hit the 500 mark by the end of 2024. Come on, help Lamb out. We're trying to do 500 by the end of 2024. I'm trying to get this whiteboard filled with names. Patreon.com/loveandmurder. And a free an easy way of helping me out is just by simply sharing this episode. That's literally all you have to do. Hit that share button and share on your social media. Share with your friends. Share with your family. Share with your best friend. Share, 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 share. And as always, I want to end each episode, and this is actually the last full episode of 2023. I'm going to put out an update episode later this week so you can see what I'm talking about. You'll still have episodes in December, but in the update episode, I'll tell you more about it. So this is actually the last time you're going to hear me say all love and no murder for 2023, y'all. So say it with me, say it like you mean it, and we're going to bring it back in 2024. From the chest now, ready? 1, 2, 3. All love and no murder, y'all. Bye. Hey, before you go, don't forget to leave me a 5-star review on whatever platform you're on. Starting next year, I'm going to be doing drawings, quarterly drawings, and the winner, whoever left a review, will get a prize. Go ahead, leave me a review. 5 stars if you please. Say whatever you want in the description, but that will be very helpful to me. Thank you. Bye.